sir.
Good evening. Good evening, and welcome to the One More, One Less radio show, brought to you by the One More, One Less mentoring program. I'm your host and mentor, Mr. Tony Hinton. I would also like to acknowledge our One More, One Less mentor and Facebook guru, Mr. Charles Pratt, who will be interacting with you through our Facebook page while we're on the air. So don't be afraid to hit him up with your questions for our guests or for the mentors in the studio.
I'm ready. I got you.
We also have Mr. Zevon Williams and Mr. Ron Beezer, founder of the One More, One Less mentoring program, and Mr. Frank Williams will not be joining us today. However, their presence is always felt. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. Our show is about addressing the issues our young people face today and empowering not only them, but you, the listener, with the knowledge and resources to build solid foundations and a sense of purpose for not only our young people, but for you as well. For more information and to find out about various ways you can support the One More, One Less mentoring program and our sponsors, please visit our website at www.omolmentoring.org or our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/omolmentoring. The One More, One Less radio show has been addressing various topics which deal with the challenges facing our youth today. Our topic for tonight's discussion deals with the impact our churches and their ministries can have on our youth and their communities. Joining us this evening, we would like to welcome our special guest, Mr. Frank Burton, Senior Pastor of Perfect Will Ministries and founder of the Spiritual Men of Warfare Visionary Ministry in Newcastle, Delaware. He also brought two of his clergy, Deacon Mr. Cunningham and an up-and-coming young minister, Mr. Eric Gross. We'd like to thank you all for taking the ride down from Delaware to join us this evening.
Well, we definitely appreciate you having us.
Excellent. I'm glad you guys had a good trip and could make it down safely, so I'm glad you're here. Definitely glad you're here. I'm just going to jump right in it because time is always of the essence. When we look at our youth and their involvement in the church, there are a number of factors involved when it comes to teenagers shying away or rejecting the institution of religion. For many reasons, our youth feel some type of alienation when it comes to our churches. This can take on many forms like outright estrangement, emotional withdrawal, which can create a sense of not belonging, resentments may form, a calm detachment may develop, a sort of quiet antagonism, or even open hostility may form. All these reasons and feelings are something the church, whether it realizes it or not, has some control over and responsibility to address. These problems should be a leading concern to parents and religious leaders, since any church membership teeters on just one generation from extinction. All of the ensuing problems represented a hierarchy of negative perceptions that collaborate positive towards an increase in alienation from the church in particular and religion in general. However, the opportunity for involvement in the ministry for the church is crucial if youth loyalty is to be retained. Yet we know adolescent perceptions of institutionalization, religion, dramatically impact their attitudes towards it. So religious authority figures must continue to project a positive image of our faith for which they are modeling. Accurate communication is essential in order to get the job done. Although boredom, irrelevancy, and a lack of real community are prime contributors to the alienation of our youth, we must find a way to change the mindset of our youth when it comes to the importance of the overall spiritual health and wellness. There are a big bridge to gap, and as parents and religious leaders, we must continue to work with our youth to find the middle ground, even if it requires us to think outside the box. By doing this, our youth will be able to make sound decisions and develop spiritual relationships amongst themselves, us as parents and religious leaders, and the Lord himself. Someone proposed this thought or question to our listeners. As church members, deacons and deaconesses, what are some of the things your churches are doing besides the children's choir and Bible ministry to enlighten and inspire our youth? So definitely pick up on that question. Once again, as church members, deacons and deaconesses, what are some of the things your churches are doing besides the children's choir and Bible ministry to enlighten and inspire our youth? I want to jump right into it in just a second. Now remember, this is a live broadcast, so please don't hesitate to join in on our conversation by calling in with your questions or comments for our guests, the mentors, or tonight's topic. You can give us a call at 410-481-1010. Again, that number is 410-481-1010. Or if you're outside the Baltimore calling area, the number is 1-877-704-1010. Again, that number is 1-877-704-1010. Or leave your answers to the question or comments on our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/OMOL mentoring. Mr. Foster, once again, back in the house. We want to thank you, first of all, for coming down to our mentoring program yesterday. That was huge. I think you made a very, very big impression on our boys, and as you can tell, they interacted with you after your session, and that was a great thing. So I want to appreciate and thank you for taking the time to join us.
It was my absolute pleasure to be down there with you.
Great. Now, based on the information I just read, what do you feel needs to happen in order to get more churches involved in youth development and or outside programs which support this type of mentorship?
Well, first of all, I just want to address some things that you said. In the scriptures, Jesus says, suffer the little children and bid them to come. Suffer not the little children and bid them to come. And that just simply means when I was raised in a Methodist church, and our children's services consisted of reading in the Old Testament and New Testament. One of the things that we do is, and what we've done for 11 years, is at the end of the month, every fourth Sunday, we have a youth service. And that youth service consists of allowing our youth to do the entire service, whether that be dancing or singing or praise dancing or even rap. We have one young person assigned to bring the word. And they study for about a month before they go up there because they know they have to be right with God's people. And God has blessed us in 11 years with those youth services. And the ages go from about 7 years old to maybe around 20 years old with our youth. And I wanted to say this too, is that there's a new parent in ministry. There's a new parent in ministry. You know, Jesus said the tradition of men have made the word of God of none effect. But the new parent is transparency. Every kid loves transparency, and ain't no fakes.
That's good. That's definitely true on that. Mr. Burton, tell us a little bit about yourself and what motivated you to start this Spiritual Men of Warfare Visionary Ministry.
Well, I like that, liken myself to Amos. I have a church background, grew up in the church. When I was very young, my mama would drag me to church all the time, and by the time I got to college, I was like, I don't need to go to church. You know, I was in college on a football scholarship and came out, and when I was an young adult, I came back to the Word. But I was in my profession in 1997, like Amos, minding my own business. And being from here, the east, from Wilmington, Delaware, one of my assignments was in Colorado Springs. And out there on the mountain, 14,100 feet tall, minding my own business, God called me and he said, Frank, let me tell you something. You have influence. You have a great job. You've had influence where you are. He said, but you know what? I'm sick and tired of dealing with boys. He said, I want my men back. And he said, I'm not talking about little kids. He said, I'm talking about men 30 years old and older. I want my men back. So I came back, started the ministry, Spiritual Men of Warfare Visionaries, and it's been an absolute blessing.
Excellent. So you've seen a lot of progress. That's good. That's definitely good. What does the Spiritual Men of Warfare Visionary Ministry have to offer for those who are reaching out for help?
The first thing that we have to offer, and I can probably best put it to a term, an acronym that people can understand. And the acronym is OATS. And what we've seen in the last 11 years, OATS, is, first of all, you got to be obedient to God. Not obedient to another man, not obedient to your pastor, but obedient to God, because once you're obedient to God, everything else falls into place. The second thing is that everybody, women say that men, they really don't like to talk. They clam up, they don't like to talk. But the truth of the matter is, men do like to talk. Men like to express themselves. However, to get a man to talk, he has to be in a safe place. A man's not going to just start telling you about his business unless he feels safe. So the second thing is accountability. So what we have at Spiritual Men of Warfare Visionaries is accountability. So if I'm going through a problem where, I have lust or addiction, I have my brother here where I can talk to, and I know that he'll hold me accountable. But it's in a safe place that I know that it won't go anywhere else. And the third and final thing is what I just said earlier, is transparency. Everybody knows a fake, and a man knows a fake. Out in the world, we say game recognize game. Well, spirit recognize spirit. And if I know that I can be transparent with you, if I know as the apostle, as the pastor, that you can come to me in your pulpit and tell you that you're going through the same things that I'm going through, then guess what? I can relate to you a lot better.
Right. I can't disagree with you on that one. Sorry, I can't. That's a true statement.
Amen.
And I think also, with us as men, we're looking for comfortability. If we're comfortable with our surroundings and who we are as people or as a person, then we're able to relate and be more emotional, be more expressive when it comes to dealing with anyone, whether
Absolutely.
it be men or women or authority figures or however it may go down. So I think it's for us to talk, and we really have to be comfortable with that situation or that surroundings. I also want to ask about this question as well. As the founder, well, I'm gonna propose this question to Eric. I'm just gonna propose this to Eric. All right, Eric, I want to ask you, what kind of relationships have you been able to build with young men in your ministry? And I know you're a young minister coming up. I'm not sure how old are you?
26.
26. Okay, we got a young minister, 26, coming in. What have you seen so far as far as building those relationships?
I can say, well, from a personal experience, I came into the ministry at 13 when he was just Brother Frank. He approached me and asked me to come out to this men's Bible study. And I went out and I saw things that I never saw before. I saw men being real. I saw men being open and transparent, as he spoke about their feelings, their struggles, what they're going through. I saw men cry and be unashamed, and other men hold them up. And as a young man who grew up without a father, this was all new to me. This isn't what the world taught me what it meant to be a real man. So I got to see a different realm of what manliness and manhood was through seeing real men of God be just that, real. As a result, it caused me to cling and to want more. So now, looking back, I'm seeing young men come into the door, and they're able to be open and transparent. They're able to safely talk about issues that they're going through, whether it be in school or at work, with their girlfriends. If they have kids, they can talk about those struggles, and it's a safe place, and they're going to be encouraged, but then they're also going to get godly counsel on it.
Well, that's good. So being at the age that you are, you're able to bridge that gap between that age difference, because I know some of your individuals are probably in their teens, most likely.
Absolutely.
And they're trying to find that way ahead, pretty much.
Yep.
So, yeah, definitely. I appreciate that. Definitely appreciate that. I want to remind you, this is a live broadcast, so please feel free to join in on our conversation by calling in locally at 410-481-1010. Again, the number is 410-481-1010. Or if you're outside the Baltimore calling area, the number is 1-877-704-1010. Again, that number is 1-877-704-1010. Mr. Burton, I want to get back to you real quick with this question. When you look at all the young lives that you've been able to touch through your ministry, what personal experience do you feel has touched you the most?
Well, it's probably a conglomeration of a lot of different men, but the one thing is to see men's lives truly changed. And it's something to see that when you transmit what God has given you to men and young men, because it's not just young men, it's older men as well. We're talking about the unchurched. And we speak about the unchurched as not people who don't know church or don't go to church, who don't know God. But the unchurched is anybody who's been out of church 6 months or more, has been estranged, been drawn away from. And probably the best thing is when they finally get it, and they become on fire for God. See, when I wasn't always saved. So when I was out in the world, I was a hellraiser and I was good at it. And a lot of these men that come in, they have varied past. They gang members, stick-up men, the whole nine. They have experienced the world. And what happens is once God takes over, that's why the enemy fights us so hard as men. Because he knows that if we get to the other side and get on God's team, it's a wrap. So here's the difference, spiritual men of warfare, visionaries. Here's the difference in just going to church. Say you're a man that has come through the door and you're struggling with lust. You get caught up and your wife confronts you, and all of a sudden you did the whole tears and I'm sorry and I'm a changed man. And I tell the guys all the time, when does a cheater stop becoming a cheater? When he stops cheating? When does a liar stop becoming a liar? When he stops lying. When does an alcoholic stop becoming addicted to alcohol? When he stops drinking? Absolutely not. Because that same behavior will persist. It is until the Spirit of Christ comes in and changes your life. Now, with this whole spiritual men of warfare visionaries, grace and mercy, the precepts that we came up under are great. And that's the foundation. But man of God, there is something more powerful. Grace and mercy is me hitting you with my left hand and just jabbing you. But when you understand spiritual warfare, that same cheater that got caught up who says, well, I'm changed. No, you're not. You're not changed, because there is a Matthew 18 says, whatever we bind here on earth is already bound in heaven. But then we have to lose something. So if you've grown up just on grace and mercy and you don't know spiritual warfare, you wouldn't know the spirit to bind. Because the Bible says, how can you bind up a spirit? At least you call it by its name. See, it's time out for people to talk about the bubblegum spirit and the marijuana spirit, because you naming things amiss. You better know what the stronghold is. So when the guys finally get the perverse spirit, they understand that in that perverse spirit, it has lust, it has pornography, it has sexual perversions, it has masturbation. We talk about that. In binding that up, we have to lose something in its place, because the Bible also says if a spirit comes from a man, it goes to dry and arid places. And when it can't find rest, it's coming back. And when it comes back, it's coming back 7 times stronger. At least we fill our spirit up with something. So we have to lose pureness, holiness, and God's spirit. Now, see, if you don't understand that, if you don't know about warfare, then you're really at a loss and at a minimum. And all you're saying is, yes, I've changed. But that spirit's coming back, and it's going to be worse.
Right.
Preach. Oh, my goodness. Man. Then I go to church.
Right. Definitely that. So, I know. I kind of you went around the question a little bit. Was it one person at all that you kind of felt you had a bind with, that you felt you did the most for? Was it one individual at all? Can you recall anybody? If not, that's cool.
No, you know what? It kind of leads into probably what we're going to talk about next, but it's a perfect time to really bring him in now.
Okay. Yeah,
Deacon Herb Cunningham. And when I tell you, we ain't all been saved. This brother's testimony is phenomenal. Out in the world doing whatever he was big and bad enough to do, but he came to us as a man with a family, and God has just changed him around, because what he didn't know, and he came up in church, but what he didn't know was spiritual warfare, and he can tell you better than I can.
All right. Well, you about to get on ahead, my friend. You about to come on. Mr. Cunningham, let me just ask you in general, you've been with the program for a moment.
Yes.
With the program itself. What are some of the changes you've seen since starting on the organization, and how have you been able to contribute towards it?
Some of the things that I've seen personally in myself is, like you said, from growing up in a Baptist church, and then as I got to the age where I could smell myself, kind of steered away from it. My mother used to always say, "How did you go from a drug dealer to a deacon?" And just God's grace and His mercy. But one of the things that I've learned to appreciate is, what coming to the church with the spiritual men of warfare, it taught me so much that I didn't know. I didn't know about the strongholds. I didn't know about numbers, and just seeing that and applied in my everyday life, it made me change. First of all, my household, because that's my first ministry, is home. it changed my household where I was effective in my household with my wife and my kids. And then as I go to work, that rage doesn't raise up anymore because I've learned to prioritize things. I've learned to sit there and see what spirit is coming up and to cause it down, to bind it up and to lose something in its place. And as I was going forward, as I go forward in my walk, and I'm sitting there seeing different things in the community and just the different men and young men that comes into the church for our meetings, just their testimonies alone is the impact of what's going on outside of the church in their community, because everybody who comes into our ministry isn't necessarily from our church. Some men are coming from different churches. Some of the youth are coming from different areas, from different sides of towns, and just the impact that it has on the youth and just different men is making a major impact in the community, because you have some younger ones who grew up in the streets raised them, and when they get frustrated, they want to go back to their old ways. But then we have accountability that's sitting there saying, look, hey, this is not who you are anymore. This is the right way to go about it. And then there's the accountability portion of it, where you're saying, look, I'm not going to let you go out in the streets and do this anymore. We're going to sit down, we're going to talk. If we need to go out, if we need to give you a couple dollars to get yourself through, to pay whatever bill you have to pay, then we come together as a group and do that for that individual.
Yeah, that team concept, trying to help as one, definitely always comes into play. I think it's a good concept to have, and I definitely like what you guys are doing for your men out there and for the youth that are coming in with their problems. You know, just the fact that they're coming in general is awesome at that point. You know, just to have them walk through that door, and then to be able to address them later and build them up and build their character and build their self-image is an excellent thing you guys are doing, so I appreciate that.
Mr. Hinton, I'd just like to add this too. Deacon Herb said this as well. Perfect Will Ministries, or Spiritual Men of Warfare Visionaries, is not a Perfect Will Ministries solely ministry. We have brothers from the outside, from different churches. We have agnostic and people who are formerly atheists. We have people who are Seventh-day Adventists from Jehovah's Witness to come in because they really want truth. And what this provides is a forum and an aspect. We have bishops, we have deacons, we have stick-up men, we have people who have just gotten out of jail within the last day who come. And at the height of Perfect Will Ministries, and I remember when we first started back 17 years ago, probably in the third year, we would have, in a little small townhouse that I lived in, over 99 men on the first Saturday of every month in our house. And these were men from the tri-state area, Maryland, Delaware, Philadelphia, New Jersey. People would come down as far as New York because they heard about this thing. What is this thing? What is this thing where these men's lives are being changed? So it's an awesome thing.
Great. Looks like we got a caller on the air. Let's see if we can get him on the line. Travis, how you doing today? Hello? Right. 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 That's right. That is definitely right. Mr. Travis? Mr. Travis? Mr. Travis, we're actually, that question is coming up right now, so if you listen in, we'll definitely address that right now, sir.
Stay tuned,
But thank
Mr.
you for
Travis.
your comments. I appreciate it. Bye.
Travis, two quick things of your question, and that went back to my transparency piece. And the thing is this, with the transparency piece, is that we need to be transparent. We need to, our church is very transparent. I mean, we live our lives before our people. And the one thing that I tell our people is this, and I've been around a lot of pastors. I do some work with some big pastors as well. But the thing is this, I tell the people, I am not trying to get you to buy into my personality or my fame or whatever, because guess what? I will fail you. I will come in one day and say something you don't like. If you can I be transparent with you guys right now? If you get me mad enough, I might cuss. But the thing is this, is that I'm not trying to get you to my personality or my accolades or whatever I've done or whoever I'm associated with. If I can get you to Christ, he won't ever fail you. So if you want to know more about the